Welcome to Tell the Damn Story, the show that explores the many ways to navigate the successes and failures that aspiring and struggling writers face to make your journey that much easier.
Chris?
Oh, you're there. That's weird.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Chris Ryan.
Yes, he is.
That's Alex Simmonss. This is Tell the Damn Story. As you heard on the introduction, we try and smooth your journey as creatives, especially writers, by giving you our examples or pointing out things that you can go and check out yourself and learn from in a painless way. That's the idea, ladies and gentlemen. Think of us as your euthanasia. No, wait a minute.
No, 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 no,
No. Think of us as your smooth jazz. Maybe not.
Yeah. As
Just
your Lewis and Clark of
way.
literature.
That's right. We're here to make your road smoother. We're the pothole fillers of the writer's world. That's what we are.
That's right. Street
I
maintenance
gotta tell
here.
you, Alex, that was one of the weirder introductions.
Hey, it was spontaneous. Yeah.
And why would that be apropos today, Alex Simmonss?
Because as some folks who've listened to us or watched us over the countless episodes,
Well,
they
it's
know
402. That's a very clear count.
Yep, they know that we are weird or can be weird. And today we're going to talk about, are writers actually allowed to be weird? Do we need permission to be weird? And really, what does that even mean to some writers and to some purveyors of our craft? So I think we're just going to explore really the dynamics of, do writers actually need to feel that they need permission to be weird, and what is that?
What is that?
Yes, what is that? So one of the
The
things
hell is that?
one of the things I'm going to start with is, as we know, as all of us who are living and breathing these days, especially those of us who are in the adult range, you've lived enough years to know that someone at some point in space and time is going to come up to you and tell you that whatever you're doing, thinking, saying is wrong or weird or strange, or no one wants to hear it, blah, 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 blah. And when you're Joe and Jane or Shaniqua and Jamal Average wandering around doing your jobs, that's going to impact on you, and maybe the heavy or maybe light. But if you're a writer, and that means you're going to take your thoughts, your dreams, your beliefs or whatever, and put it into words on a page or in a script so that it's a film or a movie. It means that you're not just going to keep that to yourself, or you're not going to just share that with your family or your circle of friends. You're going to put it out there into the world for many, if not all, to see. And that can be scary, even if you're not doing something controversial or intense or, deep. But even more so if you're worried that, how are people going to look at me? Am I going to get backlash? Are people going to think I'm weird, strange, destructive, or whatever? And I think that maybe looking at what's come before and what's still going on might help you guys feel a little bit better about, well, A, if you think you're weird, why is that a problem? But more so, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? So I was going to start off with a little quick short story. In my career, long career, I used to be a visiting artist in schools, everything from elementary to high school to college. And in one particular case, I was brought in to do a playwriting program with a class of fourth graders. So we're talking about 12 to 15, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, right? And they were supposed to base their play on one of their lessons, on a particular lesson plan that they were experiencing. And there'd been a playwright in there before me who had been working with them and was doing what that person did artistically to try and get material out of them and all that. And for whatever reason, that didn't work out as far as the administration was concerned. That person left, and I was brought in. And the first thing that the hierarchy told me, the administration told me, was, and they were doing these things, and it made no sense. The whole program and the play is supposed to be about the women's suffragette movement, and these kids were writing about aliens and purple cows. And it was just really terrible. And I said, okay, so what were they saying about the aliens and the purple cows as it relates to the suffragette movement? And I got this blank stare. I asked the question again, and they said, I have no idea. What, it couldn't possibly mean anything. I said, well, you didn't ask? And they said, well, no, it was about purple cows and aliens. And what's that got to do? I said, that's the question. Why did the kids take the information, the academic information that they'd been given, process that however they do that, and come up with aliens and cows as part of this vision that they were going to have? And she said, well, would you have asked them that? I said, yes. I would want to know, okay, how'd you come to that? And if you think about jazz and you think about impressionist paintings or abstracts, yeah, that's exactly. Where were you going with that? Help me see that. And so from that point on, as I worked with the students, I did a number of exercises and things with them to give them more information, but I did not stymie where their imagination was going to take the project. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a good starting point for me. Weird, yeah, purple cows and aliens and the women's suffragette movement, yeah, if you just say it like that, well, that is weird. But then you have to ask, okay, so how does that connect? And therein lies the fertile field. It could be a hot mess, or it could be something fascinating.
True.
So that's
I
that's
would
my first example. Again, all the way back there, but here we are now.
I would also, having heard that for the first time live right now, a question that came to my mind is, well, with respect to whoever you were speaking with, why do you think purple cows and aliens are weirder than the suffragette movement? That an entire gender had to fight for rights. Human history is weird. The things that we have done as humans are weird. Slavery is weird. Yes, it's also morally wrong and all that stuff, but it's a weird idea. Whoever's the first one who says, what we should do is just grab a bunch of people against their will and force them to work for us for nothing. That's weird. And that weirdness is still going on today. Some of these people who disappeared are working for $1 a day. After a week, $5 they get, and it costs them $5 to make one phone call. That is weird and immoral and criminal. Humans can suck. They can be really bad. So if someone comes and says, I'm gonna write, I'm writing about purple cows and aliens or a unicorn riding to school over a rainbow, first thing I say is, wow, that's a pretty cool idea. And then find out where's it going?
Yeah.
And if you want to see something that's weird based on an assignment that is based on human history, you're already weird. How is it not weird that we need laws against killing each other? Shouldn't that go without saying? If we weren't a weird race, we wouldn't.
Well,
Right? You don't see
I
you
get,
don't see squirrels saying, "All right, let's get that guy." Right? Get that other squirrel. He's got different color fur. Let's get him. Right? The hell? What are we doing? Yeah,
yeah. Well,
there you
weird,
go.
weird. Again, what is weird? And one
Good.
person's weird is another person's normal or intriguing. Also, metaphors. I mean, a lot of books and plays and films, there's the surface plot or the main plot of the story, and then there's subplots and there's metaphors in there. And again, sometimes whatever those things represent become weird or questionable depending on who's looking at it. I find, again, you're talking about the human condition. And yeah, I do find certain things that human beings do to each other to be weird. I also find things fascinating. You're my neighbor, for 2 generations. We've lived literally right next door to each other for 2 generations. But because you worship in one house and I worship in another, when we disagree, it's really worth going to war over. And now this person or these people, this family that I've known as neighbors and possibly friends and all of that, and broke bread together and all that, suddenly now I have the right to annihilate you because I'm right and you're wrong, because you go here and I go there. There's another story. And again, folks, believe me, we're gonna touch base on weird in several areas. But there was a student of mine who wanted to do a film student who wanted to do a film about something personal that involved an experience in his family, but it also reflected the social, shall we say, viewpoint, racial or anti-cultural viewpoint. I'm trying to be respectful of his story. It reflected the negative attitude that certain people had about a certain body of people. So it's a personal story about something that happened in his family. It was very personal to him. He was not raging against other races, cultures, religions, or anything. This personal story, which touched on his culture, touched on a bit of his religion, but it was really just very personal. It was a one-on-one kind of thing. And he got pushback on doing that film, which didn't curse out anybody, didn't do this, got pushback on it because of the political hotbed that was going on around that topic at that time. And it really became a problem for him to express freely in a democratic society something that was deeply personal and he felt very strongly about. And luckily, fortunately, enough people supported that effort. And he went and did his film. It's a little film. It's not a feature film. It's a little short film. And to his credit, he did it as well as he possibly could. He got a good team of crew and actors to participate. And it has been recognized at 2 small film festivals. Had he not done it, yes, he wouldn't have been recognized at 2 film festivals, but more importantly, he would have squashed, stymied, blocked off his own feelings about something that was important to him on a personal level, but also had a universal message. He would not have had the experience of knowing I can conceive of an idea and execute it with a proper plan, get a collaboration and cooperation of another body of people, and come up with a finished project that I can be proud of. And really, discounting attitudes hurts no one. So again, weird, strange, judgmental. As writers, a lot of what we do is reflect life, reflect the human condition, reflect the experiences we've had, the feelings that we have, the thoughts that we have, the beliefs that we have. To hold that in, absolutely, it's choking. It's not breathing. And yes, I know there are qualifiers in there and we can discuss that, but I just think in general, it's harmful to the writer, the creative, but also to the people that it might have reached and helped.
Yes. God, I'm having a hard time with this episode. I'll tell you why. There's the level of weirdness in the world, or, well, our country, our own backyard right now, is so intense right now that I keep going there for examples. There's a congressman who wants a full investigation into Bad Bunny's halftime show, the songs that he sang, because he didn't understand Spanish, so they need a translation. These lyrics are easy to find translations. And he thinks just heinous stuff was sung about. I'll give you a set of lyrics,
Okay.
just a little excerpt. young ladies, I like 'em underage. See, some say that's statutory, but I say that's mandatory. Those lyrics come from the headlining act of the alternative halftime show. So I would suggest to that congressman that he clean up his own backyard before he starts finding fault with a halftime show that you didn't need to understand the language for. That was about culture, and that was about family and unifying everybody. That people are freaking out. He had so many flags. Yeah, what he was saying was there are 14 countries in the Americas, and we're all better off together. Perhaps they should have waited for a minute and thought about it and said, well, what is it? Oh, there was not a single word of Spanish or English. Lady Gaga sang completely in English in her part of the show. You got to do your homework because you know why? Otherwise, you're making everything weird. It doesn't need to be. So let's get into weird and what is weird. You know what? Everybody's weird. Creatives are weird to non-creatives. Plumbers are weird to creatives. What are they doing? How do they understand those pipes? So you can't, if you're a creative, I think the best thing, every single one of us, whether you're creative with a wrench or you're creative with words or a paintbrush, the best thing you can do is figure out how to be the best you possible.
Let me
That's
jump
it.
on.
So I got to give you the second
Okay.
part of that.
Okay.
While you're doing that, you got to cause no harm.
Mm.
If my personal weirdness means I get to beat the shit out of you, that's not legitimate weirdness. That's violence. There's a lot of that going around, and that's not acceptable. If I'm going to write a poem that's going to talk about riding a unicorn across a rainbow, that might be weird to people, but doesn't cause harm.
Mm.
It doesn't. If I'm going to write a crime mystery novel, there's going to be some people who die in that. They're fictitious. They don't exist. That doesn't cause harm to anybody. If I suggest that you should go out and commit the same crimes that my story writes about, then I'm doing harm. There's a difference. Being your own unique self, you're always going to seem weird to somebody. You're going to probably find out that the people who think you're weird, you think they're pretty weird.
I'm going to say two things. One about what you just said, which is I agree with a lot of it. I will also say that some people will say, well, yeah, but there are certain songs or poems or things that say horrible things that hurt people's feelings or cause people to want to do X. And I think once again, you're saying not to do harm to others, not to use your weirdness, or at least one would hope your weirdness is not to inflame pain and suffering and shame onto other people where it would do some harm. I think part of what has to happen is if something you write does that, A, you recognize that it could do that, but B, or look at the communication. One of the things you were saying before about not listening to Bad Bunny's performance with the kind of mindset that goes, well, yeah, but this is going on. What are you talking about? I think it's also about a lack of communication. It's once you're in certain mindsets, once you've been indoctrinated in a certain way, you shut down. You don't listen. You don't hear with a sort of, okay, let me try and get what you're saying. All you want to hear is the noise. You don't want to let that in. And I think with weirdness in some of our writing, and I'll use this now as an example. Someone wants to do a piece about political injustice or bullying by corporations or governments or things like that. Okay, we're going to do this thing. We're going to show how society is really screwed up and everything. So we're going to do it. It's going to star the lead character is going to be a pig. We're going to have a horse. We're going to do a
Some
cow. We're going
chickens,
to get that in
some
there.
sheep.
We're going to have some sheep. And no, we're not going to do it in an urban city. We're going to have to do it in an open area. Yeah, something bigger, right?
How about a farm?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Because
Yeah, let's do
that'll
that. Let's do
represent
that.
community and home and all that. And then we'll have these talking animals go through such. And someone will go, "What are you talking about? You said you were going to do this thing about political and yeah, well, and I did Animal Farm,
Yeah.
a classic book that has been around for many years. It was required reading when I was young. Yes, right. We read it on
But
stone tablets. Yes.
but Alex,
Yes, what? What, Chris?
in the beginning of that book, don't those animals rise up and drive the farmer off his property?
Yeah, they did do
That's
that.
that's a crime.
That's a revolution. That's a
We
revolt. That's a riot.
we,
Yeah.
we can't have that. We have to ban that book. We can't allow people to read that book. They
Well, then
might
if we're going to
think,
ban that book, we
oh
might as well
my
ban.
God, they might
Yes.
think.
Yeah. Well, then wait a minute. Then we should ban Goldilocks and the Three Bears because
You
that
can't
is
have a human with bears. My
no,
God,
well, it's not even
that's
that. What did she do? She broke into their house. She
that's right.
took
B
their
and E.
stuff, right? She's squatting. I mean, come on. They didn't invite her in. She goes and sleeps in their bed. I mean, come on, really. What kind of an image is that to give kids?
It's a terrible image.
Yeah. Oh, hey, let's go even further. Let's have another blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl invade a whole country, go up against not only the citizens, but the monarchy as well, and just run through there with rabbits, with watches and cards and running through the field. We'll have to call her Alice.
I think this episode is way too dangerous,
Yeah,
Alex.
really. You're right. I'm sorry. You know what, folks? Forget you didn't hear a thing.
You
We
didn't
weren't
see
here.
us. You didn't
There
see
is,
us.
yes. Yeah. Look into this. Blink. Right.
Blink. You weren't there.
Yeah.
So the point being that artists have a long history of putting truths, even if they're stylized truths, out into the world. And the
That could be
idea
considered
is,
weird.
yeah, and,
Yeah.
and every single one of them have been considered weird by somebody and considered adored and important and crucial to life by many others.
And I
Which
would
weirdness would I choose? I choose to be considered weird by some people and help others. I choose that way more than being some shadowy pedophile somewhere. Or is every writer a perfect human being? No,
I
we
don't
struggle
think
with
so.
that. We struggle with that every day.
Yeah.
This guy, great. He was one of the all-time great cosmic horror. And then in his real life, oh my God. That's a conversation for another episode.
Yeah.
This conversation is about just being who you are. I got to tell you, there are several times where I caught my own mother talking to her friends on the phone, verbally rolling her eyes at whatever I was doing that day, painting big paintings on 4-foot wide window shades that had been that's what I couldn't afford canvas, so I was don't throw those out. I got an idea.
Yeah.
I
Paint
didn't
on
know
it,
if it
right?
would work. But yeah, I fancied myself a rock star back then. And yeah, I was with a couple other guys who fancied themselves rock stars. All of us could play well over 3 notes. And we would play them for hours, God bless us. But I painted this big wizard that for me, it was going to be a backdrop behind the drummer and da da da. And she looked at it and it was like, we may need to bring him somewhere. Why? Why? Doesn't make a difference. Be who you are. Right?
That's pretty much what we were saying. I would say that if we said it any further, for those again who maybe you're not into Alice in Wonderland
Yeah.
or Animal Farm, maybe you've read Kafka.
Well, it's also, it's also what you do with it,
Yeah,
right? I mean, Kafka wrote all his pieces and put it out there in the world, and people thought about them, read about them, discussed them, maybe
yeah,
looked at the world a little differently. That's fine.
yeah. You look at
Now,
science
not all
fiction,
writers have done that,
right?
Alex.
But here's
There's
here's
an
the other
author,
thing.
Alex, there's an author
Yeah.
who wrote an extremely well-known book. And then he acted upon that book. And the name of that book was Mein Kampf.
Mm,
Again, that violates the second rule.
do no harm.
Harm no one, right? He took that and said, let's go, let's kill millions and try and take over the world. That's a little too weird for everybody. Kafka, he put out and wrote the next thing. You know, people can find fault with like the Hardy Boys. Remember the Hardy Boys? You
I
like the
remember
one,
them very
right?
well. Yes.
Two brothers that solved crimes. Oh my God. What are those two boys doing together all the time? They're brothers. Stop being weird. Stop finding weird everywhere that you're uncomfortable with. Let people be who they're going to be. You can make a lot more progress in the world that way.
Absolutely.
All right, Alex, you were talking about Kafka. You were talking about something. I got to calm down, bro. I'm
I
being weird.
I was simply going to say I mentioned Kafka because again he wrote about this person turning into a giant cockroach. Yeah, that was not to say, oh, then people should turn into giant cockroaches. He was trying to, through his story, make a comment about life. Yes, that's weird. That's weird. But then again, so was his life. So
Yeah,
sometimes,
true.
sometimes people, creatives, are working through their own stuff or trying to
Right.
through their work. And you got to give them some space. And I think, once again, folks, just to be clear, because Chris has said it several times, and I'll repeat it a couple of times myself, the line in the sand we're talking about is not if somebody is actually emotionally, upset, ill, and needs help. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how people can perceive the world and generate art, creative art, whether it's writing, film, dance, music, whatever, in ways that some of us might go, wait a minute, where's that coming from? What's that
Yeah.
about? And we don't understand. So we get, oh, well, that can't be. That's wrong. It's not wrong. It's different. The lens has been shifted a little. If you can't shift with that lens, fine, step back.
Yeah.
But to condemn, wrong. And that's where we're going with this. A lot of the science fiction of the 1950s through 60s, including one of the great writers of that time, Rod Serling, uh, the story on the surface you're looking at is about aliens or people in a strange town or things that seem commonplace in some way, shape, or form, or just a little bit, acceptable fiction, not odd. But what he was really talking about in a number of those stories was deeper human experience,
Hmm.
concerns, questions,
Yeah.
thoughts. And yeah, some of them can seem weird to you. What's I think there's I forget the name of the one in particular, but there's one with Burgess Meredith where he's a sort of a nebbish, nerdy
Uh,
kind of
time enough
bookworm.
at last.
Time enough at last, right? He's a nerdy bookworm who never can find enough time to just be alone and read. He loves reading, and
Doesn't love
finds
people so much, but he loves reading.
yeah, and oh, he's not a happy person around people. And this one incident occurs. You should find the episode and watch it. This one incident occurs where he goes to hide in this one place. I'm going to be very non, giving up the ending here. Goes to hide in this one place so he can read. Something tragic occurs, and he finally finds, yes, now I'm going to have all the time I want. Now I can just be alone with books and just enjoy myself. And there's a twist. And
Hmm.
no, the joy he was now expecting is taken from him. And there's the message. Now, the message, people looking at it on the surface could be about destruction and this and that. But I would think that the message for me was about the fact that he cut himself off from people during
Yeah,
his normal everyday life. He cut himself off from relationships. He cut himself off from the human experience of interaction.
right.
And now he's really stuck, you know.
Yeah.
So
And
I think
again,
again,
that's the subtext. You know, we were talking about that last week.
yeah.
Um, and you know, if you're closed to that episode, or if you're closed to Kafka, then oh, it's weird, it's unacceptable, it's this or that. And the idea is, well, it's throwing me a little bit. Why?
Mm,
What am I seeing here? And the no often becomes, oh, wait a minute.
yeah.
I remember teaching Kafka when I was teaching at the legendary Hackensack High School,
Ah,
and
yes.
we would introduce it, and I would explain the gist, and invariably someone would go, "Oh no, I can't do cockroaches." I was like, "Well, I mean, I'm telling you, it's not an actual cockroach, but you get the idea. It's vermin. It's some kind of, but ew, I was like, well, why would somebody write like that? Why would somebody tell that story? Well, he's just weird.
Mm-hmm.
But it found its way. If it was just weird, it would have been in the bargain bin, and we would have never heard about it again. Why is it still here? And what does it have to offer us, meaning you and me? What's there? See, it's that curiosity. It's that willingness to say, well, why is this happening?
Yeah.
What does it have to offer?
What is the
And
author trying to say?
yeah, and when I was successful, you know, not always successful, when I was successful enough to get a good number of the students to say, yeah, well, let's check it out. Then they would start really appreciate, wait, it's how he was treated by it was this, it was, and then you have ownership of ideas, and it reflects on yourself and it reflects on each other. But if you say no, if you say this is unacceptable, if you start arguing about how something sucks, if even if you didn't watch it yourself, what you reveal
Mm,
is your own weirdness. And if you're not contributing, if you're not utilizing that weirdness to contribute to a further conversation, if all you want to do is say, no, you can't, you're not allowed here, you're not acceptable, that closes things down. That makes everything narrower. And we remember our Dante from Dante's Inferno, where he suggested that sin reduces us, gets us to know, gets us to be less than we are. But if we say yes to a possibility, like Kafka said, that's a weird idea, but let's see where it goes. Say
mm.
yes to an opportunity. That's where you get to open up to possibilities, open up to advancement, open up to a more perfect union, a better world, a richer experience in our brief time here. Where does all that come from? Comes from weirdness. How about of a weird idea, you know? I wonder if I can put light in a little glass bulb. What a weird idea. Can I get vinyl and a needle and make sound come out of that so that people can have stuff that they really enjoy and listen to them? Weird idea. Can we put a man on the moon to see where that can take us?
Can we actually travel underwater for
Yeah,
long periods of time?
yeah. And here's a question that, God dang it, if the human race still has to answer, can't we all just get along?
And on that note, again, just to bring it back to as Chris was doing here, in and out on this last one in particular, writers, creators, choreographers, dance, filmmakers, all of that. Your weird is your key to the world. Your weird is the potential that he was saying of possibilities, of looking at something a little differently And maybe in serving it up that way, make it accessible to other people who might not have been able to see it before.
Yeah.
All of these things are the potential of the creative, as long as the judgmental aspect of us sits back for a while and lets us explore the possibilities.
Yep. There you go. I think, if we're going to get it from a spiritual angle, and I don't have a particular religion that I'm going to apply it to, so fill in your religion here. But the creator, most religions will say the creator does not make mistakes. So if you're not a mistake and you have a strange idea, there's a reason it exists. Explore it. But if you say no, you can only be spiritually right if you follow these precepts that we'll tell you about. That sounds more carnival barker and snake oil salesman than it does spiritual.
So true, so true.
Right? There's a reason there's old people here. There's a reason there's infirm people here. And it is to remind us that we're here to serve. We're here to contribute. We're here to make it easier for each person. And some of us do that by telling stories. Telling the damn stories.
Chris, thank
Peace,
you, man.
brother. You know I love you.
Take care, everybody. See
Take
you
care, everyone.
next time.
Yes.